Magomed Ankalaev, or should I say Muhammad Big Ank, because that's what he wants to be called. I don't know. I saw a tweet that he says his new name is Muhammad Big Ank. You know, it doesn't really roll off the tongue as much as Magomed Ankalaev, but I believe, and I'm a firm believer, that Magomed Ankalaev beats every single light heavyweight in UFC history. And in this video, my job is to convince you. Your job is to doubt it. But have an open mind, because I'm telling you, bro, like one thing I favor in my channel that's a little different than other people, I look at styles because I feel like styles make fights. So in this video, of course, Ankalaev's already beaten some light heavyweights. He's already beat Pereira. He's already beat Johnny Walker, Kudalaba, Uzdemir, Krivolov, Jan Blachowicz. Really, he did that, so I don't care what anyone says. So in this video, I'm going to go through 3 current fighters who he could fight next or something, or is on the radar. And then I'm going to go through 3 past fighters in the past from the light heavyweight division. Of course, the GOATs in the light heavyweight division. And we're going to talk about how Ankalaev matches up with them. And I'm going to give my prediction and stylistic breakdown. So, brother, listen, brother, dial it. If you're an Ank fan, you're going to like this video because I do a very objective job of breaking down these fights, as you guys know. That's my specialty, man. Stylistic breakdowns, I do this the best. So I'm even going to talk about the difficulty level. Because some of these fights that people are like pushing for right now, I'm like, bro, listen, I like the idea. Like, oh, you should fight Yuri, you should fight this guy. Listen, I don't mind it. I think it's easy fights, but since the public doesn't, I'm glad that the public doesn't understand how one side of the fights will be. So let's just talk about Ankalaev, how he beats every light heavyweight. He's already beaten the best light heavyweight of this era. And let's talk about the other people in this era he's going to put the beats on, like Dr. Dre and the people of the past. Starting with the fight that everyone's talking about the most in the world right now. Magomed Ankalaev versus Yuri Prochazka. This is the easiest win for Ankalaev on paper. And it's obvious. Like I said, it's obvious to me, but like it's not obvious to like a lot of people, so that's good. Because I think after he wins it, maybe people will think it's a good title defense. I hope so. I don't know. I'm going to think it's good because other people think it's good, but deep down, I kind of know stylistically it's a walk in the park. So this is why I think he's the easiest matchup for Ank, first of all. 0 defense and fight IQ. So like going against Ank, people are usually cautious. They get hit or they're cautious. They take their time because they know his counter striking is really good. People like Kudalaba, like, oh, I'm big and brawly, I'm gonna run forward. Then he got the beats on him like Dr. Dre because he didn't understand what was coming back to him. I think Yuri's lack of defense and lack of fight IQ, like literally putting his head to block a jab from Uzdemir, like putting his fucking forehead into the punch, it's just not good. It's just not. These aren't good visuals against someone like Ankalaev. So it's essentially the best counter striker in the division going against the guy with the worst defense in the division. There's only really one way this ends. Like, and I know people are gonna try to be like, nah, but Yuri just it makes it so weird and awkward. No, once Pereira like was like, this guy's just running in, he just knocked him out. Like, the last fight knocked him out so easy. And I know people think he like looked great in the Rakic fight. Dude, Yuri was a beast in that fight because he got beat up the first round. Just getting his ass kicked, and then he found a punch and he rocked someone like Rakic, who just doesn't have the chin of Ankalaev, you know, doesn't have the dexterity of Ankalaev, doesn't have the head movement of Ankalaev, doesn't have the counter punching of Ankalaev. Rakic and Ankalaev are two different kind of boxers, specifically hands. And I'm prefacing boxing a lot because I want to let you guys know the threat of the low kick, which happens to be Ankalaev's biggest weapon. I think his last fight showed, not his biggest weapon, his biggest weakness. But I feel like the last fight showed that like Alex Pereira had a career high in low kicks. Career high in low kicks. And guess what? He didn't hurt his leg or anything because he was checking most of them. I know the announcers like, oh my God, all these are landing, but he was checking them. But like Joe Rogan, DC, and Anik didn't really understand that. But yeah, career high in leg kicks for Alex, didn't even hurt his leg. What happened from the Jan Blachowicz fight? You guys don't understand, he improved since then. So the fact that Yuri has 0 like threat of a low kick, like Yuri might throw a low kick here and there, but Yuri's objective is really to like, dude, I'm gonna do this shit, dude. I'm gonna jump in and I'm gonna try to hit you. And that's just gonna open up Ankalaev's boxing even more, especially when he's not have to worry about getting his leg up and like all that stuff. He can really just single down in his boxing, which is gonna make it a really easy knockout. So I think he KOs Yuri within the first 2 rounds, very low difficulty. Like I said, I know there's gonna be people in the comments like, no, Ken, you're wrong. Yuri's gonna destroy him. I can't wait till that fight happens because, like I said, I just, you know, it's funny. Like I guess like his last performance against Jamal Hill, he did show an improvement. But no offense to Jamal Hill, guys, like someone who overextends like that, the fact that he won around on Yuri. And like he had no footwork. He was overextending on every punch he would throw on Yuri. Some of them was catching Yuri and sending Yuri bobbling back. It's just like, I know people like, oh, but that's peak, bro. He beat Jamal Hill. He's gonna beat Ank now. I think it's like I said, I enjoy it. People are hyping it up. So yeah, bro, give him Yuri next. Yuri's the top dog, man. He's scary, man. But yeah, if you're expecting Yuri to overextend like Jamal and just look that goofy on the feet and have no footwork, then you must have not watched an Ankalaev fight. Very easy knockout. This is the easiest fight for Ank I can make in the division. I swear to God, if I had to pick any fighter from unranked light heavyweights to ranked like anyone, I would pick Yuri for the easiest fight for Ank. This is my opinion because I really feel like styles make fights, and stylistically, Yuri's the easiest fight for Ankalaev because it's going to be a knockout in the first round or second. I'm assuming second if I had to put bread on it. But yeah, it's gonna be a really easy one. He's probably gonna open up like as a -1,100 fucking favorite, unless the odds makers are believing in the hype that the fans are saying. But either way, man, no offense to Yuri, I love him. He's a very fun fighter. I always support him. But like, can he beat Ank, brother? No way in hell. But yeah, moving on from this easy win. He definitely destroys Yuri. But who's the second easiest fight for him is Jamal Hill. Unironically, stylistically, I think Jamal Hill will be more of an interesting fight. He still will probably lose the same way, but the reason I think is because they're both southpaw. Ankalaev's fought orthodox fighters most of his life. I know Yuri's switch stance, but like he's just a lot more predictable when he comes in. Yes, Jamal Hill overextends, but Jamal Hill, like, it's not that he keeps his hands up, but like he's just a little bit more. He doesn't have he doesn't have horrible fight IQ to the extent of Yuri. So I think this is also a really easy fight, but maybe the fact that Jamal Hill's southpaw for the most part might throw off Ank for like 30 extra seconds and might get the finish 30 seconds later. It still doesn't change the fact that Hill has no footwork and overextends. Like, overextending against Ankalaev is literally like, that's a death wish. Like, if I ain't gonna lie, overextending against Ank is one thing. Like, people don't even like to throw against Ank because like they're scared of his power. But I feel like Jamal Hill, like, he has to fight like that to even have a chance. Because if he's just gonna run, I could actually see Jamal Hill kind of pulling a Rakic Pereira. He's like known for coming forward and kind of making a war, but I could really see him like getting hit once and kind of backing up the whole time. Like, Pereira was doing a good job backing him up against the fence before he threw that left hook. So I could see Ank making him run. But the thing about him running, it's different because he's running with platypus feet. When you can't plot around that far. So when you're trying to platypus max away, you're gonna get caught, and he's gonna catch him in the process of like moving back or trying to circle because he doesn't really know how to circle. So yeah, Ank's probably gonna chop at his legs. Like, people sleep on Ank's low kicks. You gotta watch back the Pereira fight and the Rakic fight. He's not the type to not throw low kicks and his teep kicks. His low kicks and teep kicks are gonna bother Jamal too. He's probably gonna chew up that no Achilles and no ACL in there. He's gonna beat him up there. He's gonna knock him out within the first 2 rounds. Also very low difficulty. Like, him and Yuri are both easy fights for Ank. The only reason I think Yuri might be a little easier is just because he just comes in a little bit more goofy and like open to counters compared to Jamal, who, he, depending on the fight, he might be a little bit more hesitant. So I do think Hill's more likely to run away as well. Like, another point with Yuri I didn't even talk about, Yuri's not the type to get hit and run. I feel like Yuri's the type to get hit like, let's go for that, then come forward again and get knocked out. So I think Jamal Hill has common sense to kind of run away. So yeah, I must say it's his second easiest win. And yeah, either way, both easy wins. Now we're going to go to the last person who I actually feel like is the hardest fight out of every ranked person you could give, Magomed Ankalaev. But it's still an easy win. Like I said, styles make fights. People are going to be frustrated or a bit like, this doesn't make sense, but I'm going to explain why. Khalil Rountree, he's the current hardest stylistic fight who's ranked in the top 5 for Ank. Wait, he's not even in the top 5. I don't know what the fuck he is, but he's ranked in the top 15. Sure, top 15. He's still an easy win for someone like Ank, but I just feel like it would be a harder fight than the Yuri's and Jamal's because Khalil's more defensively like responsible. He does have a high guard. He does circle well. And that's why I knew he was going to struggle against Pereira when I made that prediction, but I knew Pereira was going to end up getting him because fatigue. Ank will also be like similar to Pereira because he will be backing up Khalil a lot. Khalil's going to explode into some stuff. The only difference between Khalil exploding against Pereira and Khalil exploding against Ank, like, Ank has really good boxing defense and probably will not, like, because Pereira just kind of backed up against Khalil and then he kept coming forward. And then he wasn't really sitting down in his counters until he fatigued. Ank would take more risks probably early on and sit down in his counter. So I can see like Khalil trying to blitz in, then he gets a little slip and then boom, gets hit with a right. So it's just really dangerous to like run against Ankalaev and go aggressively. I feel like Khalil will be a little bit more hesitant, but Khalil will be throwing those low kicks, and I do think Khalil's low kicks are really heavy. He didn't really throw much low kicks against Pereira, unironically, but I feel like the low kicks of Khalil will make it a little bit more interesting. Does Khalil have a chance to win? No, like I don't really think so. But does he have a puncher's chance? He doesn't really one punch people either. He kind of like hurts someone then starts beating them like they owe him money. But yeah, like he's just harder stylistically. Like people gotta understand styles make fights. I think Khalil's gonna beat Hill, by the way, but I really think like Hill, like just stylistically, he'll give Ank more problems than anyone I just mentioned, like Yuri, Yan, and even more than Alex Pereira. Alex Pereira was just not a good stylistic matchup for Ank because his weaknesses just happen to be Ank's strengths. But yeah, this one's actually the hardest fight I think you can make for Ank in the light heavyweight division. Like I said, it might be a hot take, but I feel like if they ever fight, you're gonna see what I mean. Do I still know Ank's gonna win? Yes. But is it gonna be harder than every other fight we've seen Ank in? Yes. because the low kicks, the Muay Thai stance sometimes that he'd be using, and then just the power, and then just the defensive responsibility. People don't have that nowadays. Even Alex Pereira is not defensively responsible. That's what I was saying, bro. He's just always open to straight punches. Khalil's like less likely to be open to straight punches because like I don't know, like he just always has a high guard, and he's not an idiot. Like he knows when to play it safe, but eventually he's gonna fatigue, and then I think Ank's gonna get that third or fourth round KO. I said low difficulty. It's still low difficulty, but it's not very low difficulty. Like I said, it was against Yuri and Jamal. Okay, those are the current fighters. Now we're going back in time, bro. This is what y'all want to hear about. I found the three what I feel like is kind of hardest stylistic matchups for Ank, and we're gonna talk about it. Starting with the best boxer of the old generation, Alexander Gustafsson. Now, Ank versus Alex. Gustafsson is 6'5". Ank's gonna be 6'3". It's like Pereira is like the same height as Gustafsson. Of course, Pereira didn't really use much with his height and reach because he was running away the whole time. But I said they're both talented boxers because they really are. They're both the best talents. The only difference is Ank does have more power in his boxing. So like Gus can land a good accumulation of shots with you, but Ank, like when he lands, it's gonna just be a lot more heavy. And I feel like Ank's also gonna be stronger in the clinch with a better takedown threat. And I think that's gonna open up his boxing even more now. Who's a better straight, clean boxer between the two of them? I think Ank is a better counter striker or counter boxer than Gustafsson. I think Gustafsson has better combos when he's in flow state than Ank. They're both good at different things. Like who's a better overall boxer? I'll probably lean the guy with more power, which is Ankalaev. But that being said, Gustafsson's still a nasty boxer. Like I said, this clinch and the takedown threat is going to favor Ank as well. Then I said I looked back at the Gustafsson Rumble fight. Rumble just like he fought him so weird. Like Rumble just walked him down and pressured him and was just throwing a lot of boxing, and he was just beating up Gustafsson. Like it was a weird fight, and that was prime Gustafsson. Like that was recent to the Jones fight, So it's like he doesn't like speed. If you have quick hands and you have pressure, he hates that. Like he kind of folds to that. The Jones fight was competitive, but you guys got something people don't really understand about Jones. At least I feel like nowadays is that his boxing is not that good. Like his defensive boxing specifically is not that good. He went against a good boxer like Gustafsson. That's why Gustafsson was kind of exposing him there. So yeah, the fact that he crumbled his speed and pressure, and to DC, he almost beat DC because he was a lot longer than DC. But like DC's like pressure and like boxing in the pocket, and mixing with that wrestling kind of upsetted him and kind of just frustrated him. But it was a really close fight. That was a really close fight. But yeah, I just feel like Ank's like speed and pressure is going to be a problem. So I do think Ank likely does the same and he wins by knockout or points. I can see Gus, I see the way Gus got like kind of hurt and finished by Rumble. I can see a similar sequence with Ank. Being southpaw, especially like Gustafsson hasn't won against a lot of southpaws, so I think this is gonna be a hard southpaw on him, and he's gonna be one of the hardest hitting southpaws he's definitely won against. So it's just gonna be a tough fight for someone like Gus. I said he's gonna win, and he's gonna be mid difficulty. He's gonna be KO or points. If Gus can last, I'll be kind of surprised a little bit, but I can't see him lasting. I said mid difficulty. I wouldn't say high difficulty because it's like I'll definitely throw my whole house on Ank here, but I'm sure the odds will be pretty close. So before the Pereira fight, if they had to fight in their prime, I know Ank will be the underdog in this fight, and I would have cooked in this prediction. But yeah, I do think Ank's gonna get Gustafsson definitely, but it's gonna be mid difficulty. Gustafsson's of course like he's good at what he's good at, but Ank having the strength and the clinch, he's gonna be more active in the clinch. He's gonna have the better boxing as far as counters go. He's gonna have more power. He's just gonna be too much for Gustafsson, who still is a very talented fighter who's never became an undisputed champion, but he's still very talented. So I had to acknowledge him in the top three. I was either gonna go Gus or Rumble, but I really just think Rumble's like how shorty he was would have been an easier stylistic fight for Ank, who has good teep kicks, good body kicks. He's going to give him a very hard time. But that being said, speaking of short fighters who are great at light heavyweight, next matchup, Ank versus DC. It's going to be a war. This is going to be a good competitive fight. Of course, 6'3" versus like 5'4", not like 5'8", 5'9", 5'10". I think he's 5'10" on paper, but I think he's like 5. I don't know how tall he is. He's like around Islam's height, no joke. But it'd be a war because DC is DC, and DC always brings a fight. He's always kind of on the front foot. But Ank's always on the front foot too. Ank's not going to surrender to DC's pressure. I know for sure. I just know he wouldn't do that. But Ank's body kick will eat at DC. Like that little teep body kick that he does, like when he just shoots it up into the midsection of DC, that's going to frustrate him a lot, give him a lot of problems, which I feel like is going to in turn make him like be a little bit more like, oh shit, I gotta get him out of here. I got to like come forward. I got to try to hand fight him and get in there. But that's his best weapon, I think, is hand fighting. But it's going to be less effective. You know why? The hand fighting will work against Jones. Like he had great moments against Jones before he got finished. Because why? The hand fighting. But Jones doesn't have like great boxing, so like he was able to land on Jones in the hand fighting. Against Gustafsson, he was having a really hard time against Gustafsson hand fighting because Gustafsson's actually a good boxer. Same with Ank. Like if you're gonna hand fight Ank, like Ank's the type to just put that shit down and hit you with a straight left, and it's gonna rock DC. Like You know, it's gonna be a hard fight for DC. Like DC has to do a lot of work to get this win. I know he's gonna mix in the wrestling, of course. Ankalaev, he has an 87% takedown defense. He's good defensively. He's really strong. He's hard to take down. I'm sure DC could put in a high crotch there, prime DC, maybe take him down. Is he gonna hold him there? DC's not really known for holding people on the ground who are like bigger than him and stronger than him. You know, like even Gustafsson was getting up from him, and you know he couldn't hold down Jones, of course. I just don't see him holding down someone as 6'3", as strong, and like with the background of Ankalaev, who's a great combat sambo fighter as well. So yeah, he's just not going to be able to hold him down. So I do think the fight, you know, it'll be a little bit back and forth. It'll be a war, but I think Ank wins by points, high difficulty. I'm saying high difficulty because it's not going to be easy at all. Like it's DC at the end of the day. Prime DC. He's going to be a game. He's going to be a gamer, dude. He's going to be Marauder maxing. He is going to be Marauder maxing in hand fighting, but you can't hand fight against someone significantly better in boxing with you. You know, you can only take that shit. You get away with that shit with other people, you know, like Jones or something. But like not a prime Ank who's really good at hand fighting himself. People are forgetting, man. He was hand fighting the hell out of Pereira. That's why that left hook wasn't being thrown. Ank's really smart. Ank's fight IQ is very underrated. So yeah, I think he gets DC out of there. I think the moral of the story is gonna be the body kick, the body teep. Specifically after the fight, they'll be like, oh my god, the teep was just digging at DC. DC did not like that. It's gonna affect DC's gas tank and cardio, and yeah, DC's probably gonna get. I said by points, high difficulty, but there is a world where Ank could get a finish on him, but it would just be harder. And I want to respect DC and say by points because DC's a real bad man too, brother. I'm not gonna throw DC under the bus fully. But yeah, I do think Ank's gonna get him. I know this might be controversial. I don't know what people think DC would do to beat Ank. Maybe just wrestle him and hold him down. But if you guys think Ank's gonna get held down for 25 minutes, you probably don't know Ank. Yeah, I just think common sense kind of points to Ankalaev here. But I'm curious what some people are gonna say in the comments because I'm actually people love DC, so they're probably gonna have mixed emotions about this. But yeah. The split decision against Gus was really close because Gus' boxing was really good. And I just think Ank's a better version of Gus with better wrestling, better clinch, better strength, better punch power. You know, he's just better than Gus. And yeah, so that being said, moving on to the last point. Now, this point is, of course, what people want to see about this video is Jones versus Ank and how do I break down that fight stylistically. Let's talk about it. Ank versus Jones. First of all, I want to highlight the Sindler size struggle, which is Jones' kryptonite. Of course, we know the Gustafsson fight. We know the Reyes fight. We know the Thiago Santos fight. Santos like 6 feet, but he struggled. You know, he happens to struggle with people who are his height. Like, I know when people think of Prime Jones, they can be like, oh, Prime Jones melts Ank. And then, like, when they say that, I feel like people thought who Prime Jones was like unstoppable. They're talking about when he was beating like the older generation, you know, the Ruiz. Like, he was 31 against Reyes. I know, like, Ank's 32. Keep that in mind. Like, I don't think you guys understand. Like, yeah, young Jones was good against, like, the Rashad Evans, you know, the little Machitas. You know, those people who are great fighters, too, but they're just not what Ank is. No offense. Like, skill for skill. Like, the styles make fights, and Ank's just a different fighter. Like, young Jones was good against those old heads, like Rampage, like, people kind of on their way out and stuff. But once he started going against the mid-gen, because Jones fought the early gen, like the older gen, the mid gen, and then the new gen with Cyril Gane and all these other guys. But you know, once he started fighting the mid gen, like the first one was Gustafsson that woke him up. Like, oh shoot, someone's my height for the first time, but he has good boxing. That's exposed to my boxing defense. Who has good height too and has really good boxing and more power than Gustafsson, who did hit Jones a lot in that fight? Ank. And I think Ank's pressure will get to Jones. I think Ank has better pressure than Jones, and Jones was okay. Jones is not like he's okay with giving up the pressure. Like, he will be on the back foot sometimes, like backing up, hand fighting, throwing obliques and stuff, trying to get away from you, and that gets him tagged a lot. That's why Reyes was having a lot, like a field day on him. And like, speaking of Reyes, I want to say, guys, Ank being a 6'3" southpaw means trouble because Reyes was a 6'3" southpaw as well or something, and he was giving him a lot of trouble. And Reyes is nowhere near Ank. I'm gonna be real. Like, 31-year-old Jones can't touch this 32-year-old Ank. I'll be real. Like, I know people don't want to hear that. In the boxing, at least, he can't. Ank's huge boxing advantage is going to play into a part of Jones' boxing lack of boxing defense. Jones is not hard to hit in the face. Even to this day, he's still making the same mistakes he was making as a jit. Like today against Stipe when he's running away from the punches, kind of turning his head and running. You know, just like, it's not hard to hit Jones in the boxing. Reyes was outboxing him. Gus was outboxing him. Even DC before the head kick was outboxing him. It's not hard to land on Jones in the boxing because that's his biggest weakness that people are kind of too hesitant to engage in, because most of the time they're giving up a significant reach advantage because they're a lot shorter. So they don't want to put themselves in range of Jones. So they stay at Jones, like they stay at distance with Jones. They let Jones kind of dictate what he's going to do with the low oblique kicks, and then Jones dictates the pace. Every single time Jones is struggling to fight, Gustafsson was dictating the pace. You know, Reyes was, you know, DC was, you know, he got the finish. He beat everyone on paper except Reyes. I still think Reyes won, but that's besides the point. And Gustafsson fight was close. But I think I look back at that fight sometimes, I think Jones won now. But you know that came with age. But that being said, it doesn't switch the fact out that Jones' boxing defense is a problem, bro. It's a problem. So Ink is gonna have a big field day, I think, against Jones as far as boxing is concerned. I said Jones will likely wrestle. He's gonna mix in the wrestling. Ink, of course, 87% takedown defense. I think Krivlov went like 1 for 6 on Ink. You know, people shoot on Ink, they just fail. You know, oh my God, Pereira tripped him, man. And I was adding the buzzer. You know, Pereira has 0 official takedowns on that fight. Let it go, Copers. You know, Jones could take him down, just like I said about DC. Jones is not known for really holding people down. Like, yeah, they're gonna bring but the Gustin rematch. Gustin is not as strong physically as an Ankalaev and doesn't have the takedown defense of Ankalaev. You know what I'm saying? I've seen Gustin like toppled by most people, like a lot of people in the wrestling. You know, Ank's not Gustin as far as wrestling concerned. He's like a Gustin with better boxing, more power, and better takedown defense and higher clinch. Like, it's going to be hard for Jones to even take him down and hold him there. It's just not happening at all. So if you think Jones is going to wrestle him for 25 minutes, keep dreaming. And like, it's just going to be, I really just see Jones getting pressured and like trying to use oblique kicks and hand fighting to keep Ankalaev off him, but it won't be enough. You know, almost similar to like the Alex Pereira performance. Like, we can see that kind of lackluster performance get like again with the Jones, because Jones is not someone who likes to get hit, so that's why he's okay with giving up the back foot a lot, which makes him struggle in some of these fights, especially the Reyes fight. The Reyes fight, what got him the Reyes win after losing like the first 2-3 rounds, clearly in my opinion, he had to start wrestling, and it was working against Reyes because Reyes fatigues. Reyes' gas tank is nowhere near Ink. Ink doesn't get tired. Ink's able to wrestle in 25-minute fights, even with no legs like he did against Jan, or even against Alex Pereira in the 5th round, still able to clinch him and hold him there and control him there. You know, so like, if Jones is just getting pieced up like the whole time like he was in the Reyes fight, just getting pieced up in the boxing, and he just can't take down Ink in the later rounds, it's just going to be it could be a 5-0 shutout. But I said this, though, Jones' fight IQ will help him. I'm sure when he's getting beat up like this, he's going to try to make some kind of adjustment. I don't know what it is, but like I said, that's Jones' IQ. So I'm kind of counting on Jones to make this fight competitive. That's kind of what I'm banking on, Jones making the fight competitive, because Jones' deficiencies happen to be a lot of Ankalaev's strengths, similar to what I was saying in the Pereira fight. You know, a lot of Jones' weaknesses happen to be Ink's strengths, so it's hard to differentiate, man. This could exactly be how Ankalaev Pereira went, where Jones, instead of showing like lead leg kicks, he's throwing oblique kicks, you know, and just getting hit a lot, maybe getting rocked a couple times, and, you know, ultimately losing a decision. I said Ink by points, very high difficulty, because I want to give respect to the GOATs, who's on steroids. I have to give respect to him there, but I really do see Ink beating him. I can't lie. I know people are going to have mixed emotions about this. Nah, man, Jones against Reyes, that was lucky, bro. Or Jones against tall people, they also all get lucky. Ink's not good. You know, but I actually think Ink's going to be that tall person who's a southpaw like Reyes, but a lot better of a southpaw, a lot stronger of a southpaw, a lot more talented. And I think he's going to beat that Jones. And he's older than Jones was in that fight. So don't say he was old, Jones was watching that fight, or Jones was in his prime. That's not true. It's just that Jones was going against different competition. He wasn't going against short midgets. He was going against people his size. And when that happens at light heavyweight specifically, dale, brother. It's a walk in the park for most of these guys. And Ink is not these other guys he's fighting. He's not Gustin. He's not Reyes. He's Magomed Ankalaev, brother. Big Ink season, brother. Russian flag still behind me, brother. Dale. But let me know what you guys think about these fights in general. I think Ink beats every light heavyweight to ever exist. Does that mean he could be light heavyweight GOAT? Yes. I don't see him losing the belt anytime soon. I think Pereira's going to try to run it back, probably get knocked out this time around, trying to be more aggressive at the age of 38, because they're going to probably fight around like October, because I think they're aiming for Abu Dhabi, and, you know, Pereira's turning 38 in July. So, like, listen, bro, we'll see what happens, man, but definitely GOAT potential on Ankalaev, and I do think he beats every single light heavyweight to ever exist. But let me know what you guys think about Ink's run down below. That's it for me, and God bless. 2, 3, 4.